What had once been nothing more than a pipe dream was, against all odds, soon to be a reality. Everyone wanted the Lord removed from power. They were angry and frustrated, and on several occasions had even seriously considered resorting to another revolt to make it happen. But no one had been able to turn those emotions into actions, because they all knew a revolt was destined to be quashed before it made any difference. That there was no hope to be found down that path. But an actual revolution, that was another story. Especially with someone poised to take the Lord's place on their side. They had a fighting chance, and they had no reason not to take it. As the fire in their eyes swelled to a blaze, mine seemed to sputter out, leaving behind a withered husk. I felt as though I was standing in a theater, watching on as the story unfolded before me. No, that didn't quite capture how I felt. I wasn't even watching it with my own eyes, merely listening quietly as someone recounted for me their heroic deeds. The fact that I was an indispensable part of this operation still hadn't fully sunken in. All I knew was that I wasn't completely powerless anymore. But while fiery passion and hope for the future filled Gratian and the rest of the gang, a dark, poisonous revulsion for God and fate streamed in to fill the hole left in me by the attack on the brothel. Preparations proceeded smoothly, with Ginevra providing inside information and guidance. As I had expected, there were a not insignificant number of nobles dissatisfied with the way Barnier ruled, and they were constantly looking for a way to eradicate the cloud of pestilence hanging over the land. However, the Lord had eyes everywhere in the upper circles, and he was especially mindful of who associated with whom and how often. Any signs of opposition were swiftly dealt with before they had a chance to pose any threat. So the nobility needed an outsider, someone the Lord wasn't on the lookout for, to step in and assert power. Ginevra arranged for several guards and attendants within the Lord's manor to betray him on the day of the revolution. They would open the doors for us from the inside, and we would storm the manor. Structurally, the plan was similar to the slave revolt, the two major differences being my role, and the Lord's death being our primary goal. As the day drew near, it was all anyone in the slum seemed to be talking about. Though we did our best to encourage everyone to stay quiet so as to not alert the Lord, it was impossible to keep the excitement contained. And it wasn't long before word reached Maria's ears. She approached me, pale as a ghost, and attempted to talk me out of it. Haven't you had enough danger for one life? Come on, forget about all this revolution stuff. We can build up a new brothel and just stay low for the rest of our days. Does that really sound so bad? You're the only friend I've got left, Jacopo. She was practically begging, which she almost never did. While I sympathized with her, Maria's desperation did nothing to try my resolve. And before long, the day was finally upon us. Hear me, my fellow citizens, who live in suffering at the hands of your supposed lord. Within me flows the blood of the previous lord. I am the rightful heir. Behold the Barnier's golden ring, proof that I am of noble birth. Victims of this terrible tyrant, the time has come to start anew, and I shall be the one to lead you down that path. The poor, the hungry, the deprived, all of you stand with me. Before we commenced our strike in the Lord's manor, I gave a little speech in the city square. Not because we actually needed them to take up arms and fight with us, but because we needed to make a public proclamation of our position before overthrowing the Lord. They needed to know we were not merely opponents of the Lord, but proponents of the common man. That we had a legitimate cause and a legitimate claim to power. If we were to leave them in the dark, it would only sow confusion and unrest when word of the Lord's death came out. They had to see us as their liberators, not a greater evil swooping in to squash a lesser one. The Lord had been squeezing everything he could out of them for years, sucking them dry, so I didn't expect anyone to actually have the willpower to join us. The important thing was that they knew who I was, but I had underestimated them. A slow trickle of people stood to join us, and by the time we were at the city's edge, we had accumulated dozens of additional men, transforming our little uprising into something of a much greater scale. The people had been waiting day in and day out for someone to take up their banner and lead the way. It didn't matter that the one holding the banner did so under false pretenses. Intruders, we're under attack! Get 'em! With the added support, our forces rendered the manor's defenses practically useless. Townsfolk flooded the property, overwhelming even fully armored soldiers. Farmers turned the tools of their trade into deadly weapons, plunging all manners of spiked implements into guards' necks. It didn't take long for the pungent stench of blood to fill the air. Panicked servants scrambled away from the chaos as quickly as they could manage. And I made my way through the corridors to the great hall where the Lord presumably waited, Gratian at my side. We're here to relieve you of your head, Lord. Have these savages removed from my property immediately. Yes, my lord. I guess I shouldn't be surprised defenses are heaviest here. Watch yourself, Gratian. You can shove that concern right back where it came from, kid. I ain't about to let a bunch of mooks do me in. No number of these pansy little fuckers is enough to take me down. Is there any situation capable of tempering that big mouth of yours? You can handle all the guards, then. I'll take care of the Lord. Don't take the prize all for yourself, eh, kid? Normally I tell you to piss off. I'll give you this one. It's what the people want, besides. Thank you for your understanding. But remember, if you screw this pooch, I'll make sure you're the laughingstock of the whole city. Don't worry, I will come back with his head. The fact that Barnier was still here suggested he knew he had nowhere safer to flee to. Unlike the slave revolt 3 years prior, we were entirely on the offensive this time. He didn't appear particularly perturbed about this predicament. He likely had little doubt he would make it through the day safely. I knew Barnier was skilled with the sword. Despite all Gratian's talk, the guards he kept by his side were hardly going to be third-rate. They would be the best of the best. Praying Gratian would be able to hold them off long enough, I weaved my way through the armed wall of men, marching straight for Lord Barnier. He slowly drew his sword, readying himself for combat. Well, imagine that. It's you again. I'd assumed you died off in a hole somewhere. Hate to disappoint you, but staying alive's one of my few talents. How fitting for a filthy maggot. Well, I hope you're ready to be devoured by that very maggot. It would seem your tongue has gotten rather sharp since we last met. Though I need to remind you how this played out 3 years ago, do I? Your blade will never get anywhere near my head. I will, however, give you a good reminder of precisely how feeble and worthless you slumrats are. Within me flows the blood of the royal family, direct descendants of God himself, while your blood is made from the refuse of the earth. We are no more the same species as a worm as a wolf. Your very being in my presence is a slight to the highest order. I think you'll find our blood is much more similar than you think. When I take that ugly head off your shoulders, we can both get a good look at how equally filthy your blood is to mine. I am not the boy I was 3 years ago. I'll drag you down from your throne on high and show you the dregs of the for the dregs of the earth you really are. You would dare insult me, cur? We traded strikes, going on offense and defense in roughly equal parts. Barnier was quick on his feet and quicker with his blade. When I attacked, he swayed effortlessly out of its path like a stalk of wheat in the wind. And when he attacked, he was like a typhoon. He had a prowess that could never be overcome with brute strength. However, I had not spent the last 3 years idle. While I could hardly imitate the refined swordsmanship of a trained nobleman, I had a much better grasp on how and when to most effectively put my weight into a swing, how to maintain the ideal amount of distance between us. And there was one other key difference. I had no intention of running. Either I would take off his head, or I would end up on a bloody heap on the floor. There was no other way this battle could end. Think about what you're doing, slumrat. About who you're pointing that blade at. An attack on me is an attack on God. It is an act of unspeakable sacrilege. A little late to take the high moral ground. You that afraid of dying? Then put your tail between your legs and start running. You insolent. I am the rightful heir of the Barnier family. The blood of the kings of old flows in my veins. And I am the ultimate ruler of this land and my people. I would never condescend to turn my back to a worthless rat. Well, don't say I didn't give you the choice. That just means we'll keep on doing this until one of us is dead. Every swing, every step, every slight shift of balance had a little more weight than the last. But unlike last time, where the pressure had only served to light a fire under me, it was now building up inside me, growing, taking form. I could now perfectly trace the path of his blade dancing through the air. Back then, the only advantage I had over Barney was physical strength and pluck, but things were very different now. He was agile, but I could keep up with him. No, I was beginning to overtake him. Allow me to borrow your words if you would. Perhaps you should say it's snide yapping, when you have the skill to back it up. Don't get cocky, you insignificant rat. You treacherous cur. The Lord swung down at me with all his strength. I managed to parry the strike with little trouble. In that moment, I had undeniable power. Power. That's right. I wasn't powerless. And I could never let myself be powerless again. Ever. And if I couldn't manage that, then I deserved to rot here as the weak, worthless man I was. I had the chance, here and now, to take out not only the Lord, but the me of old as well, the hopeless, impotent boy who could even protect the ones he loved. That's exactly what I'll do. I'll show you that I'm not who I used to be. That I'm not that sniveling boy from 3 years ago. Before long, Barnier was coming up against the far wall. You impudent worm! We were both breathing hard, dripping with sweat. The air seemed to waver like there was a fire burning between us. A fire fueled by our own souls. And that heat extended to the entire hall, in staunch defiance of the cold winter sitting beyond the walls. Perhaps the room had transformed into one of the halls of hell itself. Where's your god now, huh? It's time to end this. Your time on Earth has come to an end, Barnier. I readjusted my grip on my sword, repositioned my feet on the hard floor, lining everything up for my final strike, and then threw a little extra fuel on the fire, before breaking into a dash. However... Wait! The last person I expected to see stood there between me and the Lord, bringing me to an emergency stop just moments before I would have taken off his head. Jaren. But because I'd been running at full speed, I staggered, almost tripping before catching my balance. She reached out, placing her hands on my shoulder, pleading at me with eyes of color. With eyes the color of early spring leaves. I could see myself aghast, reflected in those eyes. I shouldn't have stopped. I shouldn't have hesitated, for any reason. I should have knocked Jaren to the side and taken off Barnier's head. But a torrent of questions rained down on me, entangling me from head to toe like a spider's web. Why? How? What was Jaren doing here? Why did she ask me to stop? Why was she standing between me and Barnier? No. The answer hit me like a bolt of lightning. Only 4 people had survived the raid on the brothel, but we had prepared a safe room underground in case of emergency, and the stairs were hidden beneath the floorboards. Yet Marie had said they were found quickly and most of the girls taken captive. You didn't. The attack had been well organized and large scale. Could the aroma of the herbs, which were strong enough to be smelled outside, have been some kind of signal? How could you? How could you betray us? What came in my mouth was not words, though, but a pained, visceral wail. But overpowering everything else I felt was paralyzing shock. The blade sinking out of Jaren's chest pierced my breast. Our blood flowed down opposite ends of the silver edge, melding into a single stream. I completely lost any sense of what was happening, left only with crushing bewilderment. Barney let out a deep bellowing laugh behind Jaren. The sound resonated through the blade in his hand. I could literally feel him mocking me from inside my body. Why? How could you do that, Jaren? No. How could you, Barnier? Jaren had double-crossed us. As much as I didn't want to believe it, I no longer had much of a choice. She had claimed she thought of us like family, when in reality she was colluding with the Lord. She was the one who had brought ruin upon the brothel. I couldn't reconcile what I saw with what I thought I knew. I couldn't forgive that kind of betrayal. And I couldn't even begin to comprehend Barney's actions. How could you hide behind her while she stood up for you? How can you so readily cast her aside? She saved your life. How could you do this to her? What are you laughing at? Look at the girl. Look at her face. What? Why was Jaren? How could she possibly smile about any of this? What was going through her mind? Had she gone mad? I'd never seen her like... Wait. Yes, I had. I knew that smile. All too well. When the realization struck, an almost painful chill crawled up my spine. Jaren was always smiling. She couldn't break the ice with anyone in no time. She could break the ice with anyone in no time. She brought laughter wherever she went. She was endlessly cheerful and sincere to a fault. Flashes of our time together rushed through my mind. She was... Presumably you're thinking the girl's gone mad. But that isn't quite right. No. She's been mad all along. What? Could anyone in their right mind keep smiling after seeing their parents murdered and being sold off? Could anyone in their right mind genuinely believe they don't have a sorrow in the world? Could anyone in their right mind be smiling with a sword sticking out of their chest? I can't. The girl's immalleable mirth was but a different shade of madness. If she weren't mad, she wouldn't be smiling. Jaren lacks the capacity to comprehend negative emotions. That can't be. She's compassionate, empathetic. There's no way she doesn't understand those emotions. It's called good old-fashioned hard work. She pretends to show compassion, despite the fact that others' pain is incomprehensible to her. No, I refuse. You can't tell me there haven't been moments where you hadn't seen the seams in her act. In one of our conversations, I asked Jaren, have you never felt like you got the short end of the stick? To which she responded, I don't even know what the stick looks like, by which end is the short one. Well, I assumed she either moved on or her threshold for happiness was on the low side. The skill she waited on was outright broken. To tell you the truth, I'm rather fond of the girl. After all, I'm a madman myself. I wanted to shut out his words, to act like it was all crazy blather, like I didn't see any truth in it. But all the proof I needed was staring right at me. Jaren was smiling, as bright and as genuine as ever. The same smile she always showed us, as blood streamed down the blade of my chest. And still I couldn't believe it. Still I couldn't accept that she had chosen this man over us. You said you thought of us like family, Jaren. What happened to that? What happened to all our time together? You would throw it all away for him? Jackie, remember what I said? Excuse me? That I had my eye on someone. And? I everyone else at the brothel. But there's someone I love even more. You know, I'm not the cleverest girl. I can only see what's right in front of me. Ah. How impossibly idiotic could I be? She never had an eye for me. Her heart had always belonged to Barnier. I was being presumptuous when I assumed she was talking about me at the festival. Why him, though? Why this man of all people? I about fell to my knees, but I managed to hold my balance long enough to stagger back. When the tip of Barnier's blade slipped from my chest, the blood I had been holding in seemed to rush out all at once. And with it went everything I was feeling. Some revolution this turned out to be, rat. As a parting gift, I'll let you in on a little something. The girl was my pawn from the very beginning, an informant sent to keep me appraised of anything that might spark opposition. If someone's amassing wealth illegitimately, I have them killed, or forced to surrender all their assets to me. If someone says something disagreeable about me, I have them hanged. That scheming wench, Ginevra was it, is probably at the bottom of a river by now. But it would seem I failed to keep everything under control, seeing as you're still breathing and dragging a pack of mindless peasants around with you. That's only a minor inconvenience, though. All I have to do is take off your head, and then without their leader, they'll regress back to the ignorant swine they are. Now it's time we put this ludicrous revolution to rest. Barney shifted backwards slightly, making to pull the sword from Jaren's chest. She moaned, the sound a mixture of agony and ecstasy. I thought I could hear flesh ripping as the blade passed through it. I should have been readying myself to fight again, to brandish my sword and take this bastard's head. But I couldn't move an inch. Everything seemed to grow distant. My spear was on the verge of collapse. The fire that blazed within me had been snuffed out in an instant. Countless memories crumbled before my eyes. The word death flashed in my mind, but it brought with it no fear. Only vast hopelessness. Don't you? But as the last of my will threatened to slip from my grasp, I heard a voice. Remember what I said? What? That I want to be together with you. Forever. What do you think you're doing? Let go of the sword, Jaren. Lucidity came rushing back to me, and a split second later I understood what she meant, what she wanted. I didn't give myself a chance to consider where that road might lead, if I wanted to walk down it, if I would come to regret the decision, or if it was the right thing to do. There was no time to think, only act. I couldn't let this opportunity go, so I shut everything out. My mind, my looming conscience, my sense of right and wrong, my heart. I shoved aside every possible distraction, rekindled the near-extinguished fire of my rage, let out a visceral howl. And swung. I could feel the impact in my arms as the blade tore through flesh and bone. Jaren's lifeless body dropped to the floor with a thud. And the tip of my blade ripped a gash in Barnier's throat. A geyser of blood erupted from his neck. He bent over, writhing in agony, and staggered back a few steps before his legs gave out and he dropped to his knees. His eyes were opened wider than I thought possible, and he brought both hands to his throat to stem the flow of blood. But it did little to help, the crimson stream seeping through the gaps in his fingers. With each beat of his heart, the flow surged, sending up sprays of lifeblood. Impossible. I was right. Noble blood and peasant blood all looked the same. Grunting and groaning, Barnier pawed at the floor, evidently still convinced he could scamper off and escape somehow. He left behind a trail of blood as he crawled. It was, by all rights, over. However, there was still one last thing to take care of. I marched over to the Lord and placed my foot on his back, slamming him down into the ground. I'm not leaving without your head, and I owe it to Jaren to reunite you. Wait, if you kill me, the neighboring counts are sure to intervene before you even realize what's happening. Put down the sword and I'll spare you. You'll spare me? You're in no position to be sparing anyone. You're either a fool or a hopeless optimist. You're not a lord anymore. You have no power. You're just a sick worm. And the counts? They won't be an issue. I'll be taking over for you after all. So that's so. And how are you planning to do that? You're a peasant. Ginevra entrusted me with a ring that bears the Barnier family crest. I'll use that to make myself out to be the successor to the royal family. And what will you do once you've faked your nobility? You have no experience, not the faintest idea how to be a lord. I'm sure I'll govern better than you ever did. You're out of your mind! A peasant like you couldn't govern an empty plot of land! Not that being a noble makes anyone more qualified, as you've more than clearly demonstrated. I'll take your seat, and then I'll take the world. Ludicrous! Think very hard about this, boy. Killing me will be a mistake you can never fix. Put down the sword. Does death frighten you so much you would deign to beg for your life, Lord? Like I said before we began, though, the only way this ends is with one of us dead. I pressed my sword against Barnier's nape, then leaned into it hard. The blade sank into his flesh, the gash spreading like a crack in glass. Screams of agony echoed through the hall. All the blood in his body seemed to be trying to escape through the gaping hole, creating an ever-growing pool of red around us. Before long, you two will be driven to madness. Excuse me? By the time you figured out what it means to be a lord, you won't be the kind-hearted friend of the people anymore. Living this life, having no one you can trust, it'll eat away at you, and then enough. You'll be your own executioner. Enough! I'll be waiting for you. Down in hell. Here. Every guard and every rebel. I have here the Lord's head taken by my own hands. You have no reason to fight any longer. Put down your arms, all of you, and cease this meaningless battle. Our revolution has come to pass. In less than a day's time, the Lord's manor had fallen. And by the time it was all over, it felt almost underwhelming how completely and utterly we had conquered them. Men cheered and shouted in celebration. Others borrowed suits of armor and pretended to be knights. A fire of a different color filled the manor's walls. They believed that, with the Lord's death, everything would suddenly be better for everyone. That nobody would have to suffer anymore. That they would all be happy and live perfectly fulfilling lives. They had no logical reason to believe as such, yet no one seemed to doubt it in the slightest. Everyone seemed to have forgotten that enacting change required work, and there was still much of that to be done. The entire rest of the day, the men partied and celebrated, paying no heed to the corpses strewn about the property. Even the injured joined in. Nothing could stand in the way of their merrymaking. They raised goblets to my great accomplishments, and I smiled along. Though their fiery passion could not penetrate the cold bubble that had formed around me, the only real fervor I had felt all day was while I crossed swords with Barnier. Now my head was surprisingly clear. Perhaps clear wasn't quite right. It was stagnant. I felt as though I were suspended in a dark sludge. Barnier's dying words hovered around me. By the time I figured out what it meant to be a lord, I wouldn't be the kind-hearted friend of the people anymore, he had said. That I would have no one to trust. They would eat away at me, drive me mad, and then I would be my own executioner. Again and again, I tried to tell myself that I wasn't like him, that I wouldn't end up like him. But his voice, his curse, refused to leave me. Images of his decapitated head flashed through my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that one day, that would eventually be my head. Well, there you are, kid. Been wondering where you ran off to. Gratian. How goes it? That sure ain't the face of a man who just pulled off a goddamn revolution. Your wound hurting? I've got something that can make the pain go away if you want some. There we go. Here she is. Take one of these leaves and grind it up in the back of your mouth. You should start tingling right at the back of your head in no time. And then all the pain's gone, like it was never there. Some pretty great shit. If you don't mind getting a little loopy for a bit, anyway. But after all that, ain't like you're gonna need to think straight for a while, so what do you say? Take a few? I think I'll pass. It does hurt, but I can handle it. Then why the long face? You're a hero now. People are gonna be looking up to you. And that ain't a great look. What's with the big rock? I don't remember seeing this here before. Please don't touch it. It's Jaren's gravestone. So that's what's got you down in the dumps, huh? I mean, I get it. I sure as hell didn't see that one coming either. Talk about a shocker. Sweet little thing like her in bed with the Lord. Women can be fucking scary creatures at times. I don't even want to think about what kind of shit she was scheming while she got all chummy with us. There was no mask, no facade, no scheming. She was always just being herself. You out of your mind, kid? She played us for months, not the tiniest hint. If that ain't a facade, I don't know what is. She never believed herself to be lying to us. Assuming Jaren genuinely didn't grasp the concept of sadness or fear, that she was incapable of experiencing negative emotions, then it does kind of add up. She loved the Lord, while also enjoying her time with us. To her, they weren't mutually exclusive. To her, feeling both was not wrong. Well, looks like you're a lot better at arithmetic than me, because that don't come close to adding up in my head. And maybe you just don't want to accept that it was all a big fat lie. Perhaps. I'm not Jaren, and I don't know what she had with the Lord, so all I can do is speculate. And perhaps, I do merely want to believe that she was part of the family. Gratian, could I ask you to keep this from Maria and the other girls? You sure? Regardless of what Jaren's actual feelings were, I don't see any reason to sully their memory of her. Fair enough, I guess. Not like the dead can make their own case, so the least we can do for the ones they left behind is not taint their memory. Unless someone knows how to bring them back, that is. Indeed. You sure everything's good, kid? What are you so concerned about? I mean, this is yours now. When we leave, you'll be staying here. And I just want to make sure you're really up for it. If you want, I could take your place. Pardon? If you think being in charge will be too much to handle, I'll gladly take it off your shoulders. Well, we both know I'm more of a fighter than you. I could have taken Barnier out without him being so much as a scratch on me. What do you say? I'll do it. Don't be stupid. The whole city would be savages by year's end if you were in charge. Hey, just offering you a way out, kid. It's my burden to bear, and I have no intention of passing it off. I'll have myself back in order by tomorrow. Well, if you say so. But don't forget, you're in this for the long haul. Don't worry, I can handle it. So, do you have any specific plans moving forward? The woman you were conspiring with Ginevra, was it? They offed her, didn't they? She was hardly the only noble hoping to see Barnier overthrown. I'll have to start by building up a solid foundation of supporters among the nobility. Do we really need the Dick Squad on our side, though? Why don't we just cut ourselves off from all that crap and start our own country? Place just for us. No royalty or nobility to rob us blind. Just our city. That would be ideal, but unfortunately it isn't quite so simple. We can't just overthrow the Lord, take the city, and build a big wall around the borders. Without a clear, legitimate transfer of power, the neighboring council will undoubtedly intervene. So we fight back. What's the problem? Our little band of peasants was only able to take down the Lord because we had the element of surprise. What happens when a trained, organized army marches on our borders? You don't need me to answer that for you. This world's kind of a massive bitch, huh? But it's a hell of a lot better than having old Barnier in power, I guess. You'll change things for the better, though, won't you? You have my word. Great. So, Jacopo, I know we'll be parting ways here soon and all, but I want you to know, I'll never forget this day. We crashed the gates of hell together and made the devil our bitch. It don't matter how far apart we are, nothing will change what we've been through. So let's make this city into the best goddamn city around. You from the top, me from the bottom. Yes, let's. It's a great comfort to know I have you down there. I have a good deal of trust in you. I won't disappoint you, kid. And don't you ever hesitate to give me a shout if you need anything. When we first met, I kinda wanted to throw you off a cliff, and you still rub me the wrong way sometimes. But I also consider you one hell of a partner. And I mean that. We risked our lives for each other. Brothers in arms. Thank you. I, too, consider you a good comrade. You and the rest of the gang. I was beginning to think you'd never come out and say it. Now, remember, kid, don't let us down with this, or you'll be hearing from us, capiche? I know you can do it. I won't let you down. It'll all go fine. I have allies. Friends I can count on. With their help, I can change things for the better. I can believe in myself. I can do this. I have no reason to think otherwise. This fluttering in my stomach is nothing to be concerned about. When that faded night came to an end, the vast, bright blue sky of morning greeted me. I looked up at that sky, stained in a manner that still reeked of blood, and Morgana filled my thoughts. If she were here now, what would she say to me? Congratulations? It was so unlikely I let out a little laugh. She would undoubtedly criticize me for seizing power through such violent means. Her lips would twist into a scowl, and she would damn me to hell for the thousandth time. She would tell me what I had done was extremely foolish. But perhaps she would also express some concern about my injuries. That was all in my own imagination, though. She would never be at my side again. We would never look up at the same sky again. I would never hear her sing again. My old life was gone, a relic of the past. It would never be the same again. Not without the girl I loved being a part of it. Tales of a Distant Past, the end.